Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Suffer Up podcast with Nate and Brian and our good friend and guest here, Jon Reid with You. We're going to sit down with him here and we'll share a little bit about You in just a second. Before we get started, we want to, first of all, welcome you guys to the podcast. If you have not listened to us before, thank you for coming and listening to this episode here today, where our mission is to encourage and lead others to suffer with a purpose. We try to help others level up in life with an emphasis on spiritual, mental, and physical well-being. So these are the voices of Nate and Ryan, your two hosts. Before we get started, we do want to give a very special thank you and shout out to a few supporters and sponsors of the channel. First and foremost, Soft Socks. Soft Socks makes a compression fitting toe sock for your feet to help hug your foot in all the right places. They are veteran owned and they are also here local to us in the United States. We love their socks. They protected our feet on all of our long runs, and we're thankful for not only their support, but also the product that they make. If you would like to try a pair of soft socks for yourself, you can visit the link tree in the description of this podcast, visit softsocks.com and use discount code SUFFER10 to receive 10% off at checkout. Secondly, we have Muck Enders Wipes. Their mission is wrapped up in their name, the end to the muck. They make a fully organic with all natural material wipe, essentially a glorified baby wipe that we use on our trail runs to keep our feet, hands, and face clean between sock changes, as well as removing any mud or dirt that accumulates on our bodies. They're also great if you're working in the shop or getting your hands dirty or greasy, and they are safe for your skin. We believe in supporting companies that also try to support and take care of their consumer by not providing toxic products. If you would like to try a pair or a box of those, you can also visit our link tree and use discount code SUFFERUP to receive a discount at checkout. And lastly, to our lineup here, we also have we're really excited about this company, 55 Miles, that we discovered. They make a all organic, natural, all words that I can pronounce ingredients in a lubricant and blister block product. They make everything from sun blocker to lip balm to blister blocker to lubricant to help prevent chafing and keep you going the distance. We have done a podcast recording with Kramer, the owner, and we've really enjoyed getting to know him and also have really enjoyed his product. It lasts, it's sticky, and it just simply works. If you would like to try some of his product, you can also visit our link tree and visit 55miles.com and use discount code SUFFERUP to receive 20% off at checkout. Thank you again, guys, for tuning in to this episode of the Suffer Up podcast with our guest, Jon Reid. We hope you enjoy and stay tuned for more.
What's up, Jon?
What's up, guys?
Welcome to the Suffer Up podcast, man. Thanks for coming on.
Wow. Man, such a blessing. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a little bit in the making, so I'm very thankful to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, man. Last time I saw you, it was on the trail in the middle of Florida.
Yeah, it was. There was if I remember correctly, it was very hot and sticky. And wow,
Yeah.
what an opportunity to suffer up there, right?
Yeah. No kidding. Actually, we were doing some extra suffering up when we were running the wrong direction on the trail. We were going off course a little bit.
I tell you, if I really have the most experience on Florida trails, but in my experience, if you haven't found yourself running the wrong way at some point, I don't think it's Florida trail running. So that's just part of the adventure.
Yeah. Amen to that.
That was definitely, there were sections of that trail because of the storm that was pretty brutal and really zigzaggy and not extremely well marked. So it was quite easy you had to really pay attention. Let's just say that.
Well, I think we were also relying heavily on the GPX file that we determined at multiple times that it was not exactly correct. So we just, you adjust.
Yeah, just adapt and overcome. That's awesome.
And we're all a little chatty. We got distracted talking a little bit.
That's right. I mean, for me, I know I had multiple low points, especially I was really digging deep in a lot of that race. We'll talk a little bit more about how I ultimately came to DNF, but I I was digging deep in a lot of that. So I was using conversation as a means of getting through some of those miles.
Yeah, understandably so.
Yeah, it's really
Well,
good.
John, you want to lead us in with a little backstory on you, who you are, and what you're up to now?
Sure. I'm a Florida native. Um, I'm born and raised here. Currently, still living in Florida. We've got a little bit of a back and forth right now to Tennessee. Um, but right now, I'm still currently living where I'm a seventh generation um, Floridian, and it's there's a lot of change coming to this area. But um, I grew up here. I had spent a little stint in the military, as we just briefly touched before the podcast here. I was a parachute rigger with 5th Special Forces Group out at Fort Campbell, and I I did my brief service with that and got out. Had a good opportunity to come back here with my dad and run a drywall business that he had. He was a full-time fireman, and so I came back and learned the trade and really just got into the building process. Um, my goodness, man, I'm sure you guys maybe are can relate, but I didn't really necessarily highlight those skills that I had because, like I said, I was a parachute rigger in the military, so that wasn't really something I had that I could use. And so I tried to I figured out life um, um, in a crazy way. I was a little wild for a little while, and that absolutely led to nowhere. But thankfully, the Lord through that introduced me to my wife, and we've now been married uh, 13 years. We'll be 14 this year, September, and we've got 4 beautiful daughters together. Um, I well, it's kind of hard for me to explain this, but I was for about 15 years, I was a director for an export compliance company, and it's strictly international. And there's a lot of compliance regulatory, regulations that apply to exporting products, consumer commodities out of the United States. And that itself was, just for I guess a C-level, come at a good old boy graduate. That was a big learning curve for me. It was quite an accomplishment because when I started with the company, it was really just on the offset chance because I worked for FedEx at the time, and so I got into that. But that corporate world kind of started to change who I was, and through that and some circumstantial things that happened to me, um, just life, I found running. Um, and the passion that I have for running. I guess being in the military, I had a little introduction to that. I'm sure you guys are both aware, how you kind of get tricked into being in the proper run groups, and they really know how to push you to your full potential. And so I knew from that I could run. And so I leaned on that in a time where I was hurting, and I didn't really, um, I didn't know what else to do. Um, I've been a Christ follower uh, for 17 or 18 years now, where I've given my life to Christ. Um, but I I in other times where I would just turn to anger, and I didn't really have that, and I needed something, so I leaned into the running experience, and that's now taken me and my family to something entirely different, and that is where You Run You has ultimately come from, is through that experience with my family. Um, us just walking out life as Christ followers, but highlighting the experience, the gifts that have been given to us. And now we kind of do that full time. We sold our property down here um, in Florida, and so right now I'm currently where we're at. My parents, they live out in the country, and they've got a big nice place out here where again where I grew up. So thankfully we have a a secure place we can come back and forth to. But we're building out a property that we bought in Tennessee, and really leaning into this running adventure. We do apparel and gear things for the run community, and also we do content creating through YouTube. Um, I'm not real big, full disclosure, man. I'm not the type of person that I've never had a Facebook account. I still don't. You Run You has a community, and God bless my wife. I love her so much, man. She's like, as I know you guys are fully aware because you've met her, but also through your wonderful families and your wives, like they're the backbone of what we got going on. Because if it weren't for her, I wouldn't be sitting here right now doing what I'm doing. Um, and so she's the one that what was your run today? Puts my run up and puts, and we built this community around that. And I'd love to share a little bit more about that, but, um, I'll kind of stop there. I don't know. That's a real
No, you're good,
brief
Jeff.
overview of, kind of, what's led me to where I'm at, today. So
That's awesome. Yeah, and
Thank you.
we'll definitely get into that. From our side of it, it's really crazy how you meet different people and networking and how you get to know people. But what's really crazy is how we met Jon, or how I originally met Jon. Jon was kind of my imaginary friend that I knew. I knew he existed because I talked to him. But my previous department back in Georgia, I worked with a guy named Mark, and Mark attended the 3-7 ROP course. And Mark, I keep up with Mark. He's a good brother of mine, and we went through a lot together. And when I left Georgia, and moved to Florida, I told him I was getting into ultra running, and so Mark was like, "Oh man, that's awesome. Let me get you in touch with my friend Jon, whom I met at the ROP course." He goes, we exchanged some words, but like we don't really know each other that well. But maybe you could pick his brain about ultra running. So then Mark gave me Jon's phone number, and then I called Jon, or texted you first, and I said, "I'd love to connect with you and just pick your brain a little bit." And we sat on the phone and talked for like 30, 45 minutes talking about just running, because I'm just getting into this sport. And you were gracious enough to share with me some insight about what it takes to even entertain the idea of an ultra, and just some positive words of encouragement. And then it just clicked from there. And then we just kind of kept going back and forth. And then we officially met in the flesh at the Florida Death Race. And then it just all clicked, man. And it was really cool. At the time we were starting to suffer up. You were kind of ramping up You Run You. So just really cool how a friend of a friend makes a friend. And here we are now, just being able to kind of network and share similar goals and missions, man. That's super cool how that all came full circle.
yeah, yeah, I'm so
Um,
thankful and appreciative of that experience. With Mark with 3-7, and like you said, we had very few words that we exchanged between each other, but at the time we were both enduring something that we hadn't experienced before, and through that, it creates lasting relationship, and it's
mhm.
similar, I think, to what you're saying now. It's like, we had that imaginary relationships just through um, shared passion, but then when we connected, it was like we had known each other for years. So it
Yeah.
was it's so I I'm always amazed at how God uses things that, like, when you really lean into the things that He has called you into, and you have the faith to see that out and to walk that through. like what that actually can do in your life. And I just firmly believe that, this relationship is one of those moments. Like it's just like it's a God moment, like to
Yeah.
me it's like it couldn't happen
Yeah.
any other way,
Yeah. And the
100%.
feeling was definitely reciprocated, man. I mean, just being able to, I mean, when you meet somebody else who also, like, we have a commonality in Christ, and when you meet somebody like that, and it's like, yeah, this dude's legit. And when you can immediately kind of just share different things that are going on in personal life, and, hey, what can I pray for you this week? What's going on? What are you struggling with? Having that relationship or accountability with anybody that's like minded is huge. And it's really hard to find authentic, intentional people like that. So we value that, and the passion for running and doing the challenging ultras is definitely there. And it's just really cool to see how the community kind of comes together and the people you meet along the way. So really thankful for that. But in lieu of that relationship, let's kind of open up and talk about your running backstory and your history and what races you've completed. And just we'll kind of navigate at that, and then we'll kind of jump into You Run You a little bit more from there.
Sure. Um, well, I think like most people that start to run races and really get into um, to running and distance running, there's going to be parts that I forget. So I'll absolutely do my very best to, articulate the experience and the races. But surely there are pieces that I've stored away for another time. But I'll do my very best to share those experiences. But
Yeah.
um, so really quick for me, again, I never was a runner in high school or college. I didn't go to college. I went to the military, and again, only through that experience did I know that I could run. I mean, I'm sort of built like that. I'm a little bit taller. I'm nearly 6'4". I'm a pretty slender guy, but uh, I didn't have any run experience. Only when I was like 19 did I start to realize that, hey, I can actually run a little bit. Um, didn't like it, just like it was just one of those things that was kind of forced. Um, but like all things, I think in running, you start to store those things away, for another time. And so that's kind of what happened to me. Um, in 2018, my brother, 36 years old, unexpectedly passed out. He was standing in his driveway, and he didn't. What we came to realize is that he didn't have any electrolytes in his body. He just was drinking water, and he was kind of a beer drinker. He was one of those good old boys that would get out after work and have a couple beers and standing there with his friend, and passed out, uh, hit his head on the concrete, and he unfortunately didn't come back from that. So, like I said, they in the
Wow.
hospital and in the ICU, they realized it took them days to get his electrolyte balance back up. And so for me, that was two things. It was an eye opener because, like, wow, like electrolytes is one of those things that like you really need. You know what I mean? It's not just something that
Yeah.
drinking a Gatorade now and then, or a lot of people think that just drinking water is sufficient. And like you said, down here in South Florida, it just don't cut it, man. Especially when you're getting out there doing things like my brother. He worked at a shipyard, and he was in a ship basin where they put the big ships up, the container ships and stuff. They pull them up to the dock, and we'll unload them and stuff. And what he was doing was he was changing the uh, the big tires on the side of the basin that they pull the ships up against. So he was super hot, and you can
Hmm.
imagine, I'm sure he was sweating out all of his, electrolytes like you guys, I'm sure, like a lot of salt and things. So it made me realize how important electrolytes are to your body. But also I use that as an experience where I just started running because I didn't know what else to do. I was working in at the time in compliance, and I was being promoted. There was a lot that was happening in that world for me. 4 daughters, um, just trying to keep my world together, and and so running was the catalyst for me to like keep all those things just going. And so
Hmm.
I use that to suffer a little bit. I would run to a point where I would try and make myself sick. And I just realized that, you know, I used that. I just felt different. I felt pain, but I felt security. I felt, weak, vulnerable, but I felt strong. And so, a friend of mine, a brother, invited me to run a 10K, and I trained for that a little bit, and I ran the 10K and did okay. I mean, I think I was like right under 50 minutes. Nothing spectacular, but for my first 10K, I was proud of it. And then that's kind of
Hmm.
how I started scratching the surface of running. Through that, I figured out there was something called Ultra Sign Up. There's Tampa races. There's all these different events, people that put on these events. And so, and I just kind of jumped right into it. We have a really, really great community down here, run community, here in Central Florida. A1 Ultras, those guys, Andy and Amy Matthews, those people are absolutely amazing. They put on 2 free events a year, and this was my first like step into ultra. I did a 12-hour race, the Whispering Pines, and it's a free event, you know. Um, so
Wow.
I got out there, I think 38 miles my first time. I experienced rain and cold, and we didn't know. My wife and I were there. We didn't know what crewing were. We didn't know any of that kind of stuff was. We found ourselves under an umbrella, sitting on a cooler in the pouring rain, freezing cold.
Oh,
And so it was like, jump right into ultra, and so that's kind of back, several years ago. Fast forwarding, I jumped out into really from the 50K to the 100 mile. My first attempt at 100, I went to Okeechobee, and there's a race down there. It's called Lost 118, and
hmm,
again, I made my first attempt. I got to about the halfway mark, 62 miles, and got in the car, got in the back of the truck, turned the heater on, got all comfortable. I thought, man, all I need is just a couple of hour rest. These races are a lot of them are very um, generous on their time cutoffs, as far as like
yeah.
hundreds and stuff like that. And so I had plenty of time. Well, I went in there and got comfortable and decided I don't want to get out no more. So again, like I said, in
Yeah.
running, you just store these things away on the shelf. So I said, I ain't doing that no more. Um,
Hmm.
my next one, we went to Skunk Ape 100, and we got it done there for the first time. So that was my first 100 that I completed. Uh, since then, I think we've done like 6 more. So I think I've got about six. I'm not going to say it. We'll say 6 or 8 ultras under my belt.
Awesome.
I've done the Across Florida 200, which is um, it's a virtual event, and so now it's not. So I'm talking a little bit, in the past, but it used to be a virtual event where you sign up, they give you the course map, and as long as you're out on the course and you are one continuous effort, you can take as long as you want. It's a mandatory where you have a crew and stuff like that because it's very remote,
Yeah.
especially when you get out into some of the parts of the Ocala National Forest.
Yeah.
And so we got that one done in like 85 hours. And then this past year, actually, I take that back. This year, we did Big Scrub 150. And so again, similar format on that one, 150 miles through Ocala. And we got that one done in 58 hours. So, a little bit of
Oh, wow.
experience under my
It's
belt.
good pace.
we've got a pretty ironclad crew now, and if you're talking about, to me, if you're talking endurance running and specifically ultra, that's that's one of those things that's gonna be mandatory. You know, crew is something that can
Mm-hmm.
help you get a lot further. So
And you have a hard rule about your crew, right? It's your girls.
that's right. That's right. It's
Yeah,
all my
I love
girls.
it.
My wife, and I mean, we two, our youngest will be 3 this year. When she was a baby, she was running Tampa 100 with us. So she was out crewing. And again, like I said, I can't say enough about my wife. She's, she does all those things, and also takes care of a baby. And so you can only imagine, how that would be. I certainly, that's not for me. I'm just very thankful I'm the runner.
Yeah, that's awesome. Our wives are built differently, man. It's amazing how
They
God's made
are.
us completely different creatures. Yeah.
Amen to
Yes.
that.
Well, very good. And then there's, I don't know if you want to talk about it or not, but our experience at Florida Death Race, you said something there. We don't have to recap that whole race by any means, but you joined us on that one after your big scrub effort, so you were still kind of in recovery mode.
Oh, like
Um,
2 weeks after.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so with that, go ahead. You open it up, John.
Yeah, no, yeah, and all I was going to say is I have to say this about you, Nate, and thankfully I've gotten to know Ryan through this experience as well. We shared, it's very unique, um, to be able to run as far as we did together. That's not something that you typically do. Like for me, I've only done that one other time, and I have to say it didn't really work. Like running with you guys pushed me in a lot of ways. There were areas where I'm like, gosh, these guys are legit, you know? So, but what I want to say is Nate, like
Nope.
you're the type of person you reach out to me, and again, like you said, you just random times calling me, texting me, what's up? Can I pray for you? What's going on in your life? Like, so that's the type of person and the type of men that you guys are. So that to me is like being able to go and share that experience, those miles with you guys. Like I wouldn't have missed that for anything. Um, but Big Scrub, I have to tell you, man, that is one. There's a lot of people, and there's going to be some really great stories that come out of this. But Big Scrub it's the area in Ocala that they did. There's a book, and gosh, I should have probably know a little bit more of the history on this, but it's called The Yearling, and it's an old film. They filmed it in the Big Scrub in Ocala, and so that's kind of like where this all started from. Where they started the Florida Trail, where it actually originally started, and they started pushing into the national forest there, is in that area, and so that's where the race starts. And so it follows like some pretty historic routes through the forest there, but it's remote. And I'll tell you what, it flat kicked my butt. I was doing a lot of running, but I hadn't done a lot of strength training. I wasn't really like I usually get out and do very basic stuff, just, calisthenic things. But I will knock out push-ups. I will knock out pull-ups, a lot of lunges and squats and things like that. I didn't really focus on that. I was just running. And the reason is I wanted to go fast. Like I wanted to be fast. Um, I went out and paced a friend, Luke Vidal, who is fast 2 weeks before. And, um, and he kind of gave me the mindset that, oh yeah, I can run this thing. He did it in 35 hours and like 17 minutes or something, dude. I mean, just an animal. Um, but he gave me the comments like, yeah, I can get out here and move through the night and, and knock this thing out in a couple of days. Well, that's not exactly what happened. Again, just like when Florida Death Race, like I got smacked in the face with the heat. We went from 30 degrees in the morning to 92 in the afternoon. I mean, just major
Yikes.
temperature swings. It was pouring rain on us. I mean, we just had all these major challenges that we had to overcome. And like you said, my crew is my 15, 11, 7, and 2-year-old, along with my wife. And a lot of times we bring my parents who are in their 70s, So I mean, they're sharpened. They're tough, but at some point you have to take their safety and their comfort into consideration as well. So a lot of those things came into effect when we were out there. But that one was tough. So when I got done with that one, I was in recovery mode. I was just getting back out on my feet, running just a few miles here and there, and then my buddy Nate reached out and says, "Hey man, how you doing? You ready for this race next week?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm ready." No,
Yeah.
I was like already like, holy moly, John. What? Because I was thinking, I don't remember the exact date, but I was thinking it was like
Yeah.
the 20th, something like I had a few more couple more
There's a
weeks.
couple. Yeah.
And really
Hmm.
for me, I out in that window, I've run, last year I did Tampa 100 and across Florida 200 in 11 days apart. And so I have some experience
Wow.
in that. Um, but I did it in reverse. Like I did the 100 first, which is a much like a bigger effort for me. It's all one push. And then I did across Florida 11 days later, where I was able to just do it how I wanted to. Like I said, it took me 85
Uh-huh.
hours to get across the state of Florida, but it was my first time. And so knowing all that, keeping all that, bringing all that back off the shelf, and applying that to that race, it just things change. And so I went out and I was like, "There's no way that I'm not, we're not going." And the other thing is, we were really, really kind of just, you guys were so gracious. You invited us to your Airbnb. I mean, we stayed outside in the RV, or I say in the RV, in the Suburban. Um, you know, just some of those things, like I probably could have done a little bit better. But we got out to like, I made it like about a mile or so, a mile and a half from the halfway point, right? Because it was like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was
Yeah.
like 37 ish miles or whatever to the end, and I made it to
Yeah.
like 36 or whatever. And
Yeah.
I just got smoked, man. I just, again, not really keeping to my game plan. I ran with you guys. There was definitely parts where I could have just chilled out a little bit. Um, but
Yeah.
I take all of those things, and I'm not the type of person, like I don't run races for anybody else. I don't run races for any other reason, for the experience, right? And
Yeah.
I truly feel like that this is what the Lord has called me into. Like, this is where, like, I can get down and be the hands and feet of Jesus. Like, I'm not afraid to put my hands on people's feet that are blistering and disgusting from running 80 miles. I'm down. I want to help them. Like,
Yeah.
but in everyday life, I'm like, I don't necessarily have that feeling. You know what I'm saying? And I don't necessarily, that's, for me, that's definitely where I work on my heart. But that's what I'm there for. Like, that's the experience that I came to have. Um, you know, I was just so thankful to be there with you guys. It kicked me square in the teeth because I just got too hot. Didn't have enough water. And like I said, I could have recovered, but it got to the point where, like, I have to take other things into consideration. And it's
Oh
just
yeah.
like I always say, it's
Yeah.
kind of like it's like a business decision. Like, is it wise to can you keep going? Sure. Is it wise to? Maybe not. And
Hmm.
so that to me is the ultra experience, is like, man, how are you, what are you going to do? How are you going to react in life when things get tough? Like, for me, I started to I started to run. I ran and I ran, but I realized, like, you can't run from those things. Like, you have to run to those things. And
Yeah.
so through that, that's where we've found You Run You. And um, man, I tell you, like, I just really feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And so those experiences, like, I'm so eager to be a part of it.
Yeah. That's really awesome.
Yeah. I have to say, John, the my first impressions of you, I was like, this guy is either a really, really good runner and just disguising it well, or he's really, really stupid to go from the the 150 to the 74 miler in like 2 weeks. I was like, this guy's nuts. I just came off with a 100 mile 6 weeks ago, and I'm thinking I'm pushing it, but you're out there just you're a beast, man. You're not stupid at all. It turns out you are just a beast, and man, I was so impressed by you hanging with Nate. I would kind of drop back here and there. You and Nate would run off, and uh, by God's timing, I ended up catching up with y'all at one water drop. But it was really cool to run with you, man, and be like just in the presence of somebody that I was looking up to at that time, thinking, man, like this guy's a really good runner coming off of these big races, and he's still out here with us, hanging with us, and we weren't, we weren't walking, we were going at a good pace. So I really appreciate having you there and running those miles with you. It was a great experience to share those with you.
Yeah, man,
What's
I
so great
appreciate you
about it
saying
too,
that.
John, is like you embody what the ultra runner, and we've said it
Oh
before, like
yeah,
you embody the ultra experience, especially the trail experience, because like you rock the fanny pack well,
here,
you wear it
wait,
well.
wait, Nate, what were you carrying on that 74-mile race?
I was carrying a pack,
A pack with a bunch of stuff and
a bunch of
water.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. And
Yeah.
John, what did John have?
Yeah, that's what I was getting into. Like he shows up in a fanny pack, rocks the fanny pack like a absolute hoss, and two Sam's Club water bottles. Like,
Yep.
dude, it just embodies just that. We've said it before on the podcast of like, you've got the John Daly's and then you got the Tiger Woods of the ultra
Yeah.
running world, and
Right.
just going out, enjoying the experience, and also just being present in the trail, and just yeah, man, we'll figure it out. It'll be all right. If I gotta pull water from a stream somewhere, I'll do it. Like it is what it is. And
Yeah.
so I really appreciate just that easygoing demeanor and not letting the little things trip you up, man.
It really
And
made
just
it fun.
yeah, it
Like
was
that
it
fun,
was an
easygoing.
awesome
Like you said, you were
experience.
there for the experience, and it that that spread to us too. It was like, man, we're just having a good time with this race. Yeah, we're all putting in a hard effort and trying hard. It's getting hot. We're low on water or
Yeah.
we're out of water. But through that, we're still just out there having a good time, hanging with the boys on the trail.
Yeah, it was a true ultra experience. And let me just say this too, Ryan. There was a time that you were running Nate and I for miles, and we're like, and there was a time that I thought
Didn't
this guy
last.
either stupid or he's a legit runner. And let me just say, you're not stupid. You're a legit runner, dude. You were out there throwing down. I mean, you
Thanks,
remember
man.
that Nate? Like we're like, this guy is getting after it. And again, it's those types of things that like just spur each other. Like it spurs me on to keep going because there's like I know, and then you guys are going to experience this more and more. I mean, my goodness, you guys are just like putting yourself out there so much. But um, like it, goodness, it's about being able to push like beyond what you feel like you think you can do, and sometimes that comes in
Yeah.
like a mode of like this is what I did in training, or sometimes that comes from it's like the guy that's out there doing the thing with you that's like it just keeps you motivated, and you have so much genuine conversation when you're out there, and I I'm so passionate about like sharing that experience with people because I think you can see that like a lot of people are intrigued with trail running and in the ultra distance as well, but they just don't really know how or where to start. Um, and so just like you guys, you kind of put your feelers out there, but you just kind of just jump into it, um, and that's just where my passion lies, man. And like-minded people like yourselves, I mean, it's just to me, it's like overwhelming joy to be able to share miles with you guys, and I like this weekend, I'm going to go pace someone, on the Lake to Ocean. It's a 100K. Her name's Jennifer.
That's
She's
cool.
62 years old, and she is
Wow.
nothing less than a beast herself. But she doesn't like running at night by herself. And so we're going to get out there and get in
Mm,
some night miles, training for me, but also another experience that I get to just kind of put away in my mind. And that's the kind of stuff that I remember, all the small details, like about how was I feeling for this, or how, like, I could probably write that stuff down, but it's to me, that's not what the experience is to me. It's like I said, it's being able to get out there, like with guys like you, sharing the genuine conversation, being vulnerable. I mean, you say about the fanny pack. It took me a little bit of time to be confident to rock the fanny pack. So I appreciate you saying that, man. But to me, it's just a
yeah.
legitimate piece of gear that I like to run with because everything's like out in front of me. And if I want to go lighter and faster, I will just ditch the vest. But yeah, I mean that's what it's about for me, and I think so many other people in this community is just like forget about all the other things in life. Like, let's just get out here and share some miles on the trail.
Yeah. Man, to be clear, I was intentionally trying to outrun you guys because I anticipated y'all both catching me later. So I
You
was
were
trying to
doing
get
really
ahead of the
well.
problem, and you guys just kept screwing up my plan. No, you guys kept coming up right after me. I'd come in an aid station. 2 minutes later, y'all were there. I was like, "Ah, man, I thought I was farther ahead. I'm trying to gain some distance on you guys so that later on y'all catch up." But you
Yeah.
guys hung with me the whole time until you took off in front of me.
You said something too on that race, John, that I was kind of wanting to highlight. You talk about your wife and your kids kind of crew you, and like they are, if they're not involved, or you're not like too terribly interested in even participating in a race. And I think that's honorable and a good thing. But you said something that kind of stuck with me, of like my wife kind of holds the keys about whether I stay or drop on a race. And at that halfway point, there was zero, letting pride get in the way on that for you. And your wife looked at, because we came into that turnaround point, and she's like, "How's he doing?" And she asked some key questions about how your gait looked. And she's like, "Yep, it's his hip. It's bothering him. It bothered him on the scrub." And
Yeah,
then you guys had a little conversation, but the fact that I think it's super important to highlight within your crew, you've got to have somebody that kind of holds the keys. And when they say you're done, you just respect that, and you move on. Um,
yeah.
we're all about pushing limits and boundaries, but I think that's really cool that you built that into your regiment, and not letting pride get in your way just to destroy something that's not worth destroying. You know what I'm saying? So,
She was so in tune with you on that race. I mean, before we could even say, how you were doing, she kind of already knew. She was already asking the questions like, "Okay, you already have an idea of what's going on and
yeah,
you're not even on the trail with us."
Man, there's if there's one thing or one lesson that I've learned is that you have to have somebody that you can be honest with. I mean, I think, and what I mean by that is, uh, hear me out on this, is that, there's a lot of times when I come in a race, like I'm just all smiles, but behind that smile, there's some pain. Um, and I use that as a tactic to keep myself, keep the crew hyped, but you have to come to a realization that in some there real pain is potentially something much more major. And Lindsay, my wife, and I have always had that boundary where if it's something that we think is like real pain, where it's potential injury, um that's when we just level with each other. My wife's never going to say like you can't run anymore, but she's going to lay it out there on the line, um and
yeah,
we can be honest with each other, and so a lot of times you can see it like in our videos, and I try to share this experience where we come into to a cruise stop, or I come into a cruise stop, the crew takes care of me, but my wife, the crew chief, or however you want to describe it, but my wife will walk me out, say the next 50 yards or so, and we have a real conversation. Like, what's going on? Do you need anything? Is everything good? You know, because she understands from my standpoint, like, I want to keep going, but it's not, no, like, the finish line is not worth permanent injury, and so if something's really
Right.
bothering me, I can tell her, and we can either work on it, or we have to make a, like I said, it's like a business decision, and sometimes that's the best
Hmm.
decision, is like, hey, it's probably not a good idea to keep going. Yeah, so I mean, having that person on your crew that you can be honest with, um, yeah, keep that in your pocket, because it's very important. Ryan, you
Yeah,
good
that's
over
really
there,
good.
bro?
No, no, it's still going. Oh, you cut out for just a second, but we stayed everything live here,
Yeah,
so
yeah, I'm
might have been
still
a
at
network thing.
46.
Yeah, you just created more editing for me. Nice. Anyway, all right. So I'll just do a brief pause and we'll jump back into it. It's not a big deal.
Oh, good, no worries, bro.
No, that's really good, man. And I love the team that you have built with your wife and crewing in that aspect of it. And I really love how you're not only just learning these things and just kind of implementing it into your small community, but you're also broadcasting this stuff. In the fire service, we jokingly say there are some people that knowledge is power. And what I love about it is that it's not like if you don't share what you learn, then you're doing the job and the fire service, like you're doing the job a disservice by not sharing the information that you've learned along the way. And through You Run You, you're taking all this information and doing your Trail Talk Tuesdays, um, and getting out there, running with your wife, and just really building an awesome community in the ultra scene. And I mean, ultra not just trail running in general. And I've really enjoyed watching your videos. I've watched them almost every time they come out. I'm on it. Just keeping up with you guys and seeing what you're doing and how you're really helping the space because there's not a lot of people out there that are really exposing what trail running truly at the core of what it's all about. You can watch the fancy, films and all this stuff of the elites going out and doing these, big efforts like Mammoth and Tahoe and Cocodona and all these other races. But it's like, what about the dads, the husbands, and the average people that are out there crushing these distances and crushing these races? And what are they doing to be better each and every day? And you embody that spirit, man. And I absolutely love what you're doing behind You Run You in that.
Well, I appreciate that, man. It's really, to me, it's kind of, I think, comes from our servant heart. We've had that experience, and I think, we talked about that. I think we just got plugged into a really great community down here. It's not, there's nothing fancy about it. Like you said, I definitely relate a little bit more to the rugged side of the human being. So I'm the type of person that I'm fine training alone, running alone. But I found that in a community, I think the saying is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with someone else. And that's really what
Hmm.
this has done for me, is I've found that in this community there's a ton of heart, and it's taken me so far. I'm not there for, I started kind of back of the pack, maybe ended in the middle of the pack last year. I've yet to win a 100-mile race, but I've had, a couple of place finishes, some third place finishes, a lot of, several top five. Um, but I, I, I'm really there for, like I said, the experience, and whether I'm in the front, middle, or the back, um, it's about like just living in that moment, just understanding that like not everybody can get out there and share miles like that, can run like that. There's a lot of things in life that can happen that just immobilize people. And for me, that's like
Hmm.
what it's about. It's about being able to get out there and do the thing that, like I said, God's gifted me to do, and just live in that moment because I can. I met a guy. He was the DFL. I was doing a course sweep, um, and just a man, just a genuine old soul. And he passed away doing the thing that he loved. He actually passed away, but you actually were at that race, I believe, Nate. That was the Skunk Ape, like
I was. I
60K or
wasn't aware
something.
till the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah, and so
Yep.
it was something very tragic. But they did a celebration run for him last weekend, and just the community, the outpouring
Mm.
of the community to come out and just get out and share some miles and talk and conversate. And um, I just really feel like it's life-changing things. It's to me, it's church outside of the four walls, and
Hmm.
that's where I feel like I'm that's where I feel like Jon Reid. I don't feel like I have to be anybody else. You Run You is is an offspring of just that. Like it's your life, it's your future. But like you guys say, it's mentally, physically, spiritually. Like those are the things that mean the most, because it's going to carry you in this life, and it will carry you into the next life as well. Um, and
Yeah.
running is just that platform. And I'm just so thankful to be, just a small part of that community, and sharing that experience is, it's just kind of how we memorialize the things that we do as a family. But sharing that, we just pray that someone would take a little something from it, and if not, that's okay too. You know.
Yeah. So You Run You now is launching a bunch of products, correct?
Yeah, we had kind of an official launch of the website. We've done a ton of work on getting some gear out there. Similar to like what you were saying, man. You look around, and the ultra community. It's like it's not that people want to keep all the information to themselves, but it just seems like it's very minimal in that respect, where it's like you don't really have a ton
Yeah.
of like information. Like the gear all kind of stays the same. Similar to you guys, like we absolutely love sharing our experience, and through that, t-shirts and hats. Like I'm a very much a hat guy. So we started with, creating some custom hats, and we've gone through the process of officially branding, and so we've launched the website. We've got some cool hats and some run gear out there as well. One of the hot commodities we've been talking about here lately is the ice bandana. So my
Yeah.
goodness, if you're out here running in the heat, you've got to get an ice bandana. Ryan, I don't know. I'm not gonna. Maybe I shouldn't put Nate on blast, but we've got a couple of them coming that way. And Nate said that he was like wanting me to like, give it to someone in need or something. I forget how. I mean, again, just such a giving heart. But he's like, I already, like because I had sent one or whatever, and so I'm like, no, Ryan's got to have one. So, but I mean, very simple stuff. But it's trail inspired, and we try and be a little bit cheeky with some of the stuff, and then others it's very much inspired by just my experience on the trail, and just that ultra mindset.
I love it. Yeah, we're excited to give them a test, man. We've got the Red Run 26, the 65 miles across Alabama next week. When this is launched, it will have already happened, but we'll definitely have it out there in the heat because that whole road section, when the sun is up, will have very little to no shade. So it'll be brutal, but looking forward to it. Oh yeah.
Yeah, totally. We had really, an awesome opportunity. Some people again from the local run community going out. Um, um, I get a shout out to my buddy Luke Vidal who was out there. He's the one that finished that race. He, I mean, just a total beast. He's the one that I mentioned earlier about getting out and doing some pacing on the big scrub 150. And then he started preparing for Cocodona after that. That was a training run for Luke. And again, he did threw that down in 35 hours. But yeah, those guys, that was kind of
Wow.
their official gear out there. They took some You Run You gear out there, and like I said, man, if you're not in the community and in some way like you're kind of like, for me, I feel like you get left behind. And I just wanted to be able to get some gear out there in a situation where these guys can test it out. They had our ice bandanas out there and some of the hats. And my goodness, we're talking about like simple stuff here. So, it's not like life-saving devices here, but to see that out there in a big race like Coconut was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's funny because the thing is like when you want it, and when you don't, they feel like it's like not required, And what I've realized is it's really specific to the runner. Like me, I don't want to get so hot that now my stomach has turned and it doesn't want to process food, and then I have to kind of recover from that. Um, I've leaned on Nausine heavily in those situations, like for Nausine, um, and then I can get my stomach back. But it's a process, and that slows you down. So I like to try and stay a little bit cooler earlier. I know people, like I said, that we've been working with that are like, I don't want to put it on until it's in the 90s, until it's like a temperature thing. So it's really specific to the runner, but I think the consensus is that the ice banding is definitely something that helps. And the other thing is too, that I've been trying myself is a little bit of difference in size because people, have broader shoulders, things like that. And then also wearing one on the front as well, like so having a bandana in the back and the front. Um, no, because for me, it comes down to like, if I'm in that situation, I'm pretty hot, If you're wearing a vest and all that kind of stuff, if you think about that configuration, it kind of makes sense because those are the parts that are going to be exposed. And if you can cool your chest and your neck and, um, you have the ability to kind of keep rolling. So yeah, I mean, we've
Hmm.
had we've had nothing but positive feedback. Um, and thankfully, again, like I mentioned, these are all ones that like they're all handmade, and so it's like not some mass production, and so they've been put through the punches and they're still surviving. So that's like the biggest win for us.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely recommend, and this is one of the things like we send out as well. Like we just put a Ziploc in there. I don't know if if you
okay.
guys were doing that or whatever, but that in itself is a game changer. Like you mentioned, Ryan, you will, like, especially like if you're running double, like I just said, you would absolutely like you put yourself in a bad situation if you're just doing straight ice because it's all that liquid's gonna run down. The reason that I like the bag is I mean, and do it like you would a bladder, like burp it, so like make sure you get the air. Don't have like a big fluffy bag that you stick back there full of ice. Like just roll it, get the air out. Um, but once that ice melts, guess what you got? Now you got some water, right? And you can do two things with that. You can either drink it, or a lot of times I'll take that bad boy and just pour it over my head. You know what I'm saying? And then
Yeah.
it's just another cooling tactic. But again, like you said, it could be emergency water as well, and I've absolutely done that as well. Yeah, it helps a little. Yep, yep,
You got your
absolutely.
emergency drink of water, Ryan. I don't want to hear it.
Have you
No.
guys Have you guys
What was
tried
that, John?
making your own electrolytes? Have you guys tried making your own electrolytes?
I have not, but I've heard about this.
All right. I'm actually fixing to throw out a video on YouTube on You Run You channel, but I'll give you the insight to it. It's super simple. You obviously you're going to start with spring water. So if this is how I break it down, and then it's just easier to pour it into like 16-ounce servings or whatever. But I just make a gallon of
Hmm.
it. So you're going to use 10 cups of water, and then you'll use 6 cups of coconut water. And it's pretty easy, like 6 cups, I think is like 32 ounces. And so, the water, whatever. And so I make it in a pitcher, and then you use 1 tablespoon of salt. And this is like the ramped up version. You could make it a little less, like high in sodium. But this is like what you'd call like the, sports drink style. But so a teaspoon of salt, and I just use pink Himalayan salt. Use half a cup of honey, and then 3 lemons. And you'll be surprised, dude. You mix that in itself, it tastes like a straight electrolyte drink, like what you would get, from uh, one that you would get from, 7-Eleven or whatever. But then, my goodness, if you juice a watermelon or something like that and pour a little Perrier water or something, a little bubbly in there, and I mean, dude, and it ramps it up big time. So that's one of the things that
Nice.
I've been doing here lately is because I was like, I'm drinking so much BPN stuff and all, and don't get me wrong, it's fine, but I'm just like kind of tired of the same taste and all that kind of stuff. So like, why not try something different, And like I said, I actually really like it, and I can tell. I mean, that's what I've been drinking this week to get ready for this race this weekend, and I feel good. So yeah, you
Nice.
guys should
I'll have
should
to give
look
that a
into
go.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Appreciate that. Well, John, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you kind of sharing what You Run You is all about, and sharing a little bit of your backstory and why you enjoy running, and bringing us along some of those journeys. We'll make sure that we put the You Run You information in the show notes here below. And just, we're going to continue to rep your hats, man. And when things got hard on any of my runs or races and stuff, I'll throw my hat on. And surprisingly enough, it's one of my son's favorite hats, and he's always grabbing it and wanting to wear it. So we just love the community behind you, your wife, and You Run You, and what you guys are putting out and doing in this ultra space. So we just want to say thank you genuinely for getting on here with us finally, and sharing your journey with us.
Man, it's been nothing short of a blessing for me, and like I said, meeting you guys is just one of those things that it couldn't be anything other than the Lord's planning and His timing. Um, and
Yeah.
so just being a small part of you guys' community with Suffer Up, it's 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 nothing short of a blessing, man. So I appreciate the opportunity to get on here and and share my story.
Right on. Happy to have you. Happy to have you. Well, guys, that concludes today's episode here at Suffer Up with Jon Reid. We will make sure that we get you guys plugged in. He is on YouTube. We will have all of his information in the show notes here. Drop in, buy a hat of his, buy the ice bandana, give him a try. I don't think you will be disappointed, and you're supporting an awesome community. And we're excited to see the future of You Run You and where it takes you guys. So again, thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Suffer Up Podcast with Nate and Ryan and our guest, Jon Reid, where our mission is to encourage and lead others to suffer with purpose, help others level up, and strive to be excellent in our 3 pillars of spiritual, mental, and physical well-being. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. To every Monday, we'll have a new episode for you. Stay tuned for more. We love y'all. And as always,